And we're live. We're live. Go on then, Steve. I'll let you kick it all off.
Cheers, Mark. Good afternoon and welcome to episode 13 of Tales from the Home. And something completely new, we have a guest. Paul Blamire, aka Labworks. If you've even got the mildest interest in advocacy in the Australian vape scene, you've probably seen him before. There's a number of cracking videos on YouTube where he dives deep into the advocacy. What you may not know is the man mixes as well. Not only does he mix, but well, I say mix, I make it sound a lot simpler than it actually is, and hopefully Paul will fill us in on this. Good afternoon, Mark. How you doing, mate?
I'm all right, matey. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody in chat as well. How are we all? I suppose it's my turn to say hello to everyone in chat, isn't it?
It is, dear boy, it is.
So who we've got first off? We've got Chris, we've got JP, we've got Rachel, we have got Bill, and we've got JP. That's it. That's all we've got at the present moment. Very, very quiet chat at the moment. I think I might swap mine over to live chat instead of top chat. That's always better.
I'm glad you said that, because I was that busy talking to Paul before we started. Always blame the guest. Yeah, it's good etiquette, you know.
Oh, definitely. And hello, Paul. Well, good evening, Paul, should I say.
Yeah, it's good evening from Australia, and thank you guys for inviting me onto your show.
Wow.
Just in, everyone's there. I think we're all live. Good. Is everyone sounding all right, chat? Just let me know. Chat seems to be a bit quiet at the moment. Yes, very quiet. You right there, Steve?
Seems to be.
Yeah,
marvellous.
Yep. We're all good. Right. Well, this is episode 13 of Tales from the Home. I can't believe we're doing episode 13 already.
Hi, Ben.
It's quite a shocker. So, let's ask the guest, what are you vaping on?
Currently, I'm vaping on a drop jewel and one of my new ones is a kiwi strawberry lemonade that I've only just released. In my other little squonky donkey here, I actually have a white chocolate cheesecake running a little Goon LP. Running the look, don't worry about it.
And a Goon LP. God, there's actually someone that's actually vaping a Goon LP.
I have a very good friend here in Australia that makes coils specifically for that dripper, so it works really well in squonk mode. I've actually got a table full of mods at the moment, but I'm not going to go through all of them. The other one that I've got running is that is a Vicious Ant Night running a Satula Gaia, and that actually has in that is a strawberry white chocolate cheesecake that's not released yet. I'm still ironing out a few little kinks in the strawberry side, but yeah. Take it away. Whoever's up next. Let's go.
Go on, Mark.
You want me?
Yeah,
me? Okay. Right, I'm going kind of retro, but new as well. I've got the old Troll V2 on top, and underneath there I've got my new mechanical box mod from Tree of Vape, and it's absolutely brilliant. I love it to pieces. Love it. So I've got that one. On that one, I've got Suicide Bunny, Mother's Milk, which I've tweaked a little bit because the one that I got wasn't great. Also, I've got another retro vape as well. I've got the Vector RDA on my Hex. In that, I've got my homebrew lemon in there. And finally, I have got the Kylin M, and that's on, I forget which one this is called, the Epsilon. I've got that on there, and on that, where am I on? Yes, I'll get the right mods and I'll be alright. Yes. No, that's got the Mother's Milk in it. That one, the Troll's got the Zap Juice Citric Freeze with the 300 milligrams of caffeine in it. So there you go. Got that. That's it. That's for me. You, Steve?
Right. I'll let Mark go first because we've got the SoulOhm Pasito.
Hey up, who's messed about with just reduce Paul back down to where he was. He just decided to go widescreen on me. There you go.
Yes, I see what you mean.
I've got him back.
So the SoulOhm Pasito. I don't do pods normally. I'm either a dual battery or I'm a mech. But this baby was the first rebuildable I'd seen, so I gave it a go. This morning, amidst a cloud of language that would have made my mother blush, I built a 16mm deck. That was not fun.
Oops.
What they also don't tell you is, while there is a channel for what appears to be your wick to fall into, don't put your wick all the way down. If you buy one of these puppies, buy the RBA by all means. The flavour is amazing. Boy, does it restrict the draw, but the flavour is brilliant. But what you want to do is, at the base, just at the top of the wick channels, you want to cut it flat. It just wants to rest on top. Because if you put it any further down, you're going to get dry hits from hell. It just chokes it up completely. So, damn method, resting on the top, you shouldn't have any problems. I've been puffing away on this for the last hour after I built it. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. So, inside that, I've got, I'm going to make Mark pull faces now. Bit of the Salts Heisenberg, which is, I was a Heisenberg virgin until I bought this damn thing. And I love it. It's great. We've got the VK1 Flash with the Zeus X on top. And in that, we've got Malay brand, the Fog Clown. I've got the, it's a barley lemon in that.
How did it vape, that one? Because it was strong on the old knuckle.
When you knuckle it, it's overpowering. When you vape it, different beast altogether. Quite a heavy lemon, but you still get that barley mouthfeel, that richness. Really, really nice.
Is it an old school barley feel, or is it like a chemical barley?
To be honest, it's I don't know if you got Robinsons over there, haven't you, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Robinsons lemon barley. That sort of mouthfeel, that sort of rich, unctuous feel to it. It's really nice.
Unctuous. I like that word. Unctuous. I'll have to write that one down. Unctuous.
I do like a nice descriptive word.
Was it whooshing up your nose? It's unctuous.
Leave it out. I'll stop talking posh if you're not careful.
It's not even 5 minutes in, it's already going south.
Thanks, Paul. Stuart's just told me Heisenberg is so common.
It was, though. At one point, it was so like everybody was vaping Heisenberg. And it was either Heisenberg or Red Astaire, and it was so like both of them were grime. Horrible.
Dude, I'm as basic as they come. I don't care.
Anyway, how are you getting on with that Doom?
Your head up, Paul?
I'm not going to touch that.
Says the man. You wouldn't, obviously, we've just come on, but Paul showed us the contents of the cupboard behind him. So me talking about old school vapes, I think I understand why he's shaking his head. The man has building blocks like you wouldn't believe. The amount of concentrates is amazing.
Yeah, somewhere around the 1,500 barrier at the moment. 1,500, 2,000, somewhere around there. I'm losing track. And now with my new job, I've already been getting freight notices coming out of Poland. So God knows what's going to appear here on my doorstep over the next few days.
The mind boggles.
So, Steve, have we got any news today?
We have, mate. We have. So it's not looking good out of the States still. Following on from the San Francisco ban, it now appears that Massachusetts are likely to be bringing in a statewide ban on all things vape. Bill S1279 and H1902 would see the banning of flavoured tobacco products from convenience stores and online shops. The only place where flavoured tobacco would be available is what they're calling adult smoke shops. Adult smoke. The visions in my mind at the minute, what could possibly holding a packet of 20 fags?
You've got to have a latex outfit to get into these smoke shops that they're talking about.
Does that mean they're going to have a little pocket in the gimp suit just big enough for 20 fags? What a great thing.
Oh, God.
So the Committee on Public Health heard from a number of children, one of who said he managed to quit his 2-year Juul addiction last summer, adding it had cost him thousands of dollars for a Juul. Really?
2 years?
2 years.
Two years addiction?
How
long's Juul been out now?
Depending on which country. United States, the first variation of Juul was 2015, 2016, and 2017 was really the second generation of it, and the third generation, now the fourth generation. It's on its way. It's Bluetooth.
Bluetooth. Why Bluetooth?
So they can actually shut it down once it gets into certain zones.
Right.
And you get security features for underage and stuff like that. There's also now a carry case. You actually need a thumbprint to actually get into the case to get at your device. These are the options that they're going to, but they're not. In part, it's a good idea, but other than that, until they actually crack down on Amazon, what's it called, eBay, until they get rid of all that stuff off those sites and they do proper age verification, you're still going to have the issues. There's no two ways.
Now, to be fair, I mean, in the UK, if you order anything vape related from Amazon, the driver turns up at your door, and if you can't prove you're overage or don't look to be overage, they won't drop it off.
That's totally fair, and I respect that. I don't have a problem. Okay, instead of pushing for T21 statewide or throughout the whole North America, bring it back to 18. Put the law in federally. Okay, you can go to war at 18, but what? So you can still smoke stinkies, but now they want to bring in T21. T21, what did it do for prohibition in alcohol all those years ago?
See, I've always said
it actually caused more problems.
I've said this all along. Hasn't America learned from prohibition of alcohol? Has the country not learned anything to prohibition anything?
No, not at all. And from where I stand, and because, as we say when we're doing advocacy, I've got skin in the game. I own a liquid line, and I'm a mixologist. That's all I do 7 days a week. We've always said that until they clamp down, they put in real solutions, that this industry is never going to go forward. Bottom line.
No, the states proved that with the bottle issues, didn't they?
Oh, don't even go there now. There's flow, the bottle restrictions now in the United States, with flow restrictors for squeezing a bottle for 2 seconds and getting 2 ml out of it and things like that. That's part of it. The only manufacturer that's actually gone to the Hill or to Washington with it, with the advocates alongside, was Chubby Gorilla with a solution, and they're the only ones so far with that filling solution. That's an issue in itself. It's creating monopolies on both sides. I was on a show earlier today, and I said, look, all these guys with Lamborghini money, they've got to pony up. They've really got to pony up and get into the fight and stop this from going any further. Simple.
It's going crazy, isn't it? To be honest with you, they're finding anything, and it just literally it's sort of like being logically about it. They're finding any little niche to make it as hard and as awkward as possible for the industry. And it's like I've said all along, the problem with the vaping community is that they are all basically cottage industry. You're not massive big companies. And if for argument's sake that the vape community was a massive big companies, it would be a totally different ball game. But because it's little cottage industry, that's how they can get you.
I agree to disagree on that because I got my start in the industry from the DIY community and DIY and advocacy, and I saw the need for specific products at all levels. And so, I was helping all my friends out, do the conversion between combustibles and the vaping space. If, for argument's sake, this is what I said today, if all the smaller manufacturers to get together and join forces and actually create collaborations or alliances, this could be the key to upending what the government's currently doing in the United States. But yeah, it did start as a cottage industry, but now you do have big players in the game. And when I say big players, I mean very, very, very big players. They're flipping $1 million a month and more.
Yeah.
No.
So basically, if we all got together, we could actually fight it completely. That's what you're
Correct.
saying? Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, the interesting thing is, excuse me while I fold up my tinfoil hat, but if you've got bigger companies, sure, what Paul's just said, the cottage industry actually makes it harder for government to control.
Correct.
Because you've not just got one target to go for.
No.
I mean, that's the way I've sort of looked at it. If it like Apple and Samsung, yeah. If the government wanted to hit Apple hard, they'd just start bringing in the taxes that are specifically against Apple, and because Apple have got a very well-defined business structure and product, yeah, that makes them vulnerable. Whereas with the smaller guys in the vape community, the Jews. The smaller manufacturers, if they start targeting that, the other guys can step in front. Yeah, is that where we're going with that?
Yeah. Well, what is happening right now? You're seeing the larger companies actually swallow up the smaller players and buying the SKUs that they already had pre-registered with the FDA, and then creating huge lines. Then you've also got the big distros that are not only doing liquid but are also doing the hardware side of it as well and controlling it in both sides. Then you have the likes of Imperial Tobacco that's in bed now with Molecule Labs out of California. You have Juul, which broke away from Pax Laboratories or Pax Labs, that create the dry herb vaporizer, or 3 different versions of that, or the 3 different generations. The Juul and a vaping device that was released in between all of this and was sold off to one of the big tobacco companies. The attrition is there, and there was who was it? I think it was RJ Reynolds. They were actually buying up smaller operators in the vape space simply because they were buying all the recipes and sitting on it, and they're the ones that are going to be able to go through the PMTA process. It takes money to do it. If you look at the PMTA process for the IQOS system in the United States, that was $5.6 billion that PMI spent on the IQOS to get through PMTA. And that was a modified PMTA process as well because it was already a tobacco product. Liquids now, or the smaller players, the more, if you were to flood the market with small players, right? It's like playing whack-a-mole. Where are you gonna look? The target keeps changing. By doing what they're doing and banning this technology, which is a life-saving technology, I'll say it over and over again. They're trying to ban a technology that is saving lives, and big tobacco is not really, and I'll say this openly to the audience right now, big tobacco is really not the enemy in all of this. The two enemies that you have is A, the settlement that was put together by the tobacco industry in the United States called the MSA, or the Master Settlement Agreement. That's the first thing, right? All the states are spending it before they can make it back again. Their bonds are going through the floor, everything like that. The second, and probably the most interesting right now, and that is the pharmaceutical industry is losing money hand over fist in NRTs, or nicotine replacement therapy, and all the associated industries behind that, and the chemical companies and biotech. You see and also the revolving door policy with the FDA. You had Scott Gottlieb come from the vape space and from the medical side of things, took the position at the FDA to understand and throw a spanner in the works, and now he's gone and sat on the board of Pfizer Corporation.
I mean, let's face it, when he came into the FDA, everyone was praising him and thinking, brilliant, he's going to be the saviour. No, he wasn't.
He was a wolf in sheep's clothing and no one saw it. No one. He was told to destroy what he could in certain ways, or change it so his benefactors would have a better foothold in the marketplace. That's how it all works.
I mean, it's blatantly, from our point of view, it's blatantly obvious that it's just all about the money. It's literally all about the money and nothing else.
Until the FDA, and this has been a topic of conversation with myself and David Gurwitz on many occasions, until the FDA is stripped back to its absolute bare bones and rebuilt from the ground up, and the corruption and the backdoor money deals that are being done behind closed doors, we're not seeing any of this. Until that is out of the way, things won't change. You walk into government in the United States, or any other country for that matter, with $100,000 in your bank account. When you leave, you've got millions of dollars in your bank account and you're set up for life. Sorry, but enough is enough.
No, fair point. And the worrying thing is, if Trump and his regime get the way on some of the reporting, you're never going to hear about these backdoor deals. There's not going to be the leaks. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to answer this question for Grumpy. It wasn't pharma really that created the filters for cigarettes. Actually, it was a chemical company, and one of the big chemical companies was supplying PMI with all the humectants, or the actual base products for making or the manufacturing of tobacco products. So, no, Dow Chemical was one. The other one was BASF. The other one before it became, there was two sections of it, and now it's joined at the hip, and that was Bayer Corporation. They're the three that you got to play with.
All right.
Don't you love it when you get someone that knows all this stuff?
Blimey, Paul, I suddenly feel very stupid. No. So, moving on to the news stories, we've got vaping on the rise in New Zealand. There's a new study of smokers in New Zealand shows that over 50% of them have tried or are now using an e-cigarette in a bid to quit smoking. There's still a way to go, as only 2% of the population are now classed as regular vapers, while at least 1 in 6 have tried an e-cig. The good news is the study found there was no daily use amongst those who've never smoked, which always good to hear, because that's the first one the antis roll out. You know, it's a gateway. The findings from this nationally representative survey of adult New Zealanders gives us a snapshot for how the use of e-cigarettes is developing, from Professor Richard Edwards from the University of Otago in Wellington. The information from this survey will help monitor the uptake of e-cigs and provide evidence about their impact on smoking. It could also help in the development of interventions aiming to enhance the contribution of e-cigarettes to reducing smoking and its adverse health effects in, oh blimey, why do I always get the names? Aotearoa? Aotearoa.
Aotearoa, I think.
The study's part of a 2-yearly health and lifestyle survey conducted by the Health Promotion Agency and interviews thousands of New Zealanders. And Professor Edwards goes on to say the finding that people who have never smoked are not using these products is reassuring, as it's the relatively high use amongst recent quitters, as this suggests that many smokers are successfully using e-cigarettes to quit, which is what all three of us on the panel today have been saying for years. You know, it's the best way to quit. So I'm just going to touch on this one. We spoke about this before we went on air, but does everybody in chat remember the vaping leads to heart attacks study? This was awesome. This was basically the guy opened a Christmas cracker, pulled out a couple of slips of paper, and then decided he was going to publish. So the study found out was carried out by a disgraced, vehement anti-vapor scientist, Stanton Glantz. And we're using the word disgrace because there was legal proceedings from an alleged sexual harassment, so the woman involved paid off to the tune of $150,000. No guilty conscience there then, son. He reckons vaping does lead to heart attacks, although Professor Brad Rodu from the University of Louisville was able to get his hands on the data and found glaring errors. 30 of the 30 plus patients that had heart attacks, he found that most of them had occurred 10 years before they began vaping. And the new Glantz study suggested vapers were twice as likely to get a heart attack. So Professor Rodu turns around and says that these findings are false and invalid. And he went on, he called on the Journal of American Heart Association that published a study to retract it, adding their analysis was on indefensible breach of any reasonable standard for research on association or causation. And we urge you to take the appropriate action on this article, including retraction. So it's nice to hear a voice of reason.
I've got a comment to that one. Stanton Glantz is a knobhead. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm going to say that. He's knobhead. That's the best way of putting it.
I've got a few other names for him, but we won't go there.
I was polite. That's me being polite.
I'm being polite too. I'm being a very good little boy tonight.
I mean, Stanton Glantz, he's not even a doctor, is he?
Yes, he is, but the problem is that Glantz keeps getting these these funding packages, right? That's how he's paying off his ass smacking and groping charges, right? That's for a start. Okay, it's not only one, right? He's an absolute arsehat. You know, he really needs to just disappear.
Yeah.
All my friends in the industry in the United States, we've got a bunch of lovely names for him. I've been blacklisted by him, blacklisted by numerous people within the medical community and the
Yeah, he's...
how would you put it, within the communities that I roll in, people that are actually doing real studies and real data, not bullshit. Simple as that. He just needs to, go back under his rock and just stay there, because the study, I've read it and I was there on the floor laughing. I said, hang on, you're going on 30 patients. That's it. That's all you got. That's the best you've got. Come on.
I mean,
go to a heart clinic. Go to a heart clinic and get real data.
But what scares me more than anything else, though, is that people like him release papers like he has done, and it's spread like wildfire across all social media. It's across the media itself, and it's always that main headline, and it's the general Joe blogs that doesn't vape, doesn't smoke, that sees that headline.
Correct.
Vaping causes heart attacks. And it's that, and it's, no matter how you try and hide it, it's so like that is in the subconscious of everybody's mind when they start thinking about things like vaping. It's so like, because of that idiot, people think that e-cigarettes are worse than smoking cigarettes now.
Well, if you have a look at the data and the studies, they're saying that 70% of the United States population is actually saying that vaping is actually worse than smoking combustibles, right? The other name that we use for Glance, Rachel, is popcorn head or popcorn brain. That's what he's got up there. He's been hit with a diacetyl truck and he's got popcorn brain.
I like that one, popcorn brain. I'll remember that one.
That's a polite one.
Yeah, I like the polite one.
So finally, moving on, the antis, the hypocritical nature of some of these soccer mom groups that are against vaping in America. I actually saw this on Twitter. But then I came across Neil's article on it, and it's brilliant. So these poor old soccer moms needed funds, so they had a fundraiser. So they're claiming that the flavours of vaping are going to do you in, the diacetyl and all the rest of it. So they decide they're going to put a 2 alcoholic drink limit on all tickets as well.
What?
So they're having a fundraiser for the kids, yeah? But you have to buy 2 alcoholic drinks at this fundraiser. Right. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't ever remember a bottle of Heisenberg causing a bluey in a bar and then a punch up afterwards.
No.
Oh, Gordon Bennett. Unbelievable. But, yeah, vaping bad. What can we say?
Bill Richards brings up a point here. PAVE, all right? That's the soccer mums that you're talking about. It's a wife of a gentleman that actually works for Deloitte. Deloitte are the risk management crew for PMI. That's where the money's coming from for PAVE. There's 3 soccer mums over in New York. Okay, I could get really deep into this if you really wanted to, because this is the kind of stuff that it's right up my alley. Right up my alley.
Go for it, kid. Go for it.
Feel free.
You feel free.
I mean,
I could throw so many people under the bus right now. It's not funny.
what worries me is you get the soccer mom groups, then you get the religious groups. I mean, we've already, Mark and I, we did this.
Don't.
We listened to this preacher, and he was unreal.
Oh,
Apparently,
it
vaping gets water demons into the body.
Yeah.
And it's actually the work of Satan. This guy was brilliant.
Honestly, this was a 2-hour rant on a podcast. 2-hour rant it was.
Honest, I really must find the video of this guy so I can put it onto the group.
No, I'm going incognito now in David Gurlowitz mode. Religion and tobacco harm, they don't go together. No way.
Oh, this was brilliant. It was, you were vaping in the demons and all that lot. That was so funny, wasn't it? I think that was our first ever show, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Jesus.
He sent me this about an hour before we went on, and I was still chuckling by the time we started.
The big issue with the 3 New York soccer mums that started PAVE, right, until we dug a little deeper, and her husband is actually part of Deloitte risk management for PMI and for other big tobacco companies. She is absolutely off her head, that woman. I gave her a serve the other week on Twitter, and she came back to me and said, obviously you work for someone. And I said, well, look at my name, you turkey. It tells you exactly what I do for a living. So enough with your rubbish and bullshit, because you can't go on anymore. There's a gentleman that everyone should follow on Twitter. His name is Kevin Crowley. He's probably one of the biggest consumer advocates that I've met, and I was part of a radio show with him and David and a couple of other different guests that we've had on there. He was the one that actually broke the story and did the breakdown on it, him and James Jarvis from Ohio Vape Trade Association. They were the ones that broke the story on that. And I just thought it was hilarious when we found out that her husband is actually a high-level member of Deloitte and is on retainer with PMI. We just went, right, let's go.
Yeah. I mean, these people make me chuckle because it's so like, don't you think that we're going to find out?
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's like, don't you think people are going to actually search? You're going to put yourself on a pedestal like they have done, and people are not going to dig into what you're related to.
Well, and there's another one now that's appeared in the last 48 hours. A doctor from the Midwest, and he is actually using his 2 sons to spout propaganda towards the vaping industry. And he was looking on Twitter for people that could create memes, documentation and stuff like that to go against what's going on in the vape space. And then I find out that this little muppet has a SoundCloud. And I thought, right, well, this is all propaganda. This is all bullshit. So let's have it taken down. And I thought, no, enough is enough with you. Off with your head.
Sometimes it's the only way to do it. I mean, I am all for freedom of speech, yeah? Don't get me wrong. But there's freedom of speech, there's opinion, then there's dangerous bullshit.
Look, I know for a fact that I've said things that I shouldn't have said when I've been interviewed. I know that I do my research before I come out and I say something. But I did get something wrong and I retracted it straight away within about 30 seconds of me posting it. And then I was given the right information. I went back and I fixed it. Mm-hmm. But the other issue that you've got in the United States is pharma is the ones giving J&J and Johnson and Johnson, GlaxoSmithKline, and Pfizer Corporation, they all give money to smoke-free kids. That's you got to cut them. You got to cut their hands off. That's for a start.
I think it was, wasn't it Nick Green? He tweeted a full list of who's getting what, and it was like scary, absolutely scary where they're getting their money from. It really is.
Well, I mean, surely this is one of the things, like as Paul says, if you're going to set up this sort of group, you should have the full disclosure about where your funding's coming from.
Correct.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Let's level the playing field here. Open, transparent. Yeah?
They never will. And the other big issue that they've got in the United States is Bloomberg. Bloomberg, the media organisation, actually gives a lot of donations to these groups. And if you have a look where a lot of this stuff is coming out, it's actually coming out through the Bloomberg news networks. That's where it's coming from. There was a documentary the other night. I haven't got to see it all yet, but the CNBC documentary on vaping, right at the very end, there was like 6 to 8 minutes, and it was all based around UK advocacy and what the UK is actually doing the right way. Australia got mentioned, and we've got the most draconian laws on the planet, except for India and Thailand. And until we get people at the government level, at all levels of government, by the way, things aren't going to change. Things are not going to change. Sorry, it won't happen.
No, I mean, I think it's only when you start getting into this advocacy and looking at the politic frameworks behind it that you realise how bad things are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
the FDA is actually run, right? And this is the truth. It's actually run by biotech and pharma. If you go back to, and this is a case study that I did for a document, go back to 1996, and you had Monsanto.
Oh, yeah.
One of the head guys from Monsanto became the head of the FDA. Lo and behold, within 6 weeks he was there. He passed all the GMO laws, or genetically modified products. Then lo and behold, he went straight back to Monsanto as lead counsel for them.
It's just total corruption, isn't it? It's just totally corrupt.
Now, I mean, at least Gottlieb got called on it when he went back to Pfizer. Was it?
He was never with Pfizer to start with. He was taking money from GlaxoSmithKline. It was $160,000 donation to one of the studies that he was working on at the time. Then he went into the vape space, and he was a owner of, had his fist in a chain of vape shops and distribution. Then he was appointed to the FDA. After the FDA, then he said, well, I've got to go and spend time with my family. And I just went, right, who are you going to? And it was myself, Gavin Crowley, and who was it? Patrick Rife from Sons of Liberty Radio. And we called it. We gave 3 companies, and I was bang on the money. I actually came out on air and I said, he's going to Pfizer. I'll put money on this right here, right now. And everyone just looked at me and said, either you've got a golden ticket, or you know something that no one else knows. And I said, you have a look at some of the people that follow him from Pfizer Corporation, and bada bing, I was 100% right. I called it 3 weeks before he actually took the position.
See, the thing is, though, with him, though, what really gets me is that even though he's not part of the FDA, he's still calling shots, though. If you look on his Twitter account, he's still calling shots.
Okay. People in the industry like myself, we have another name for the PMTA, right? We have another nickname for it, and that's the Philip Morris Trade Agreement.
Like it. Like it very much.
Who actually wrote the policy is my question. And if you have a look at some of Gottlieb's underlings or people in the background, they're all heavyweight litigators for companies that have worked for PMI in the past.
Yeah. It's like what Andy Summerfield says. I'm going to spend time with my family. Yeah, right. 5 weeks on.
Yeah, 100%, Andy. You should follow some of the stuff that I get up to, right, in the advocacy fronts, because I'm not afraid of calling someone out. I've been, get this, I've actually been banned on all platforms from Simon Chapman here in Australia. I've been banned by our Prime Minister now for calling him out. I've been, what?
Banned by the
I
Prime
don't
Minister.
have problems. I don't have problems.
Nice one.
I don't have problems with any of this.
Gordon Bennett. Good man. By the way, be very careful of the hugs that Julie offered.
Excuse
We
me?
may not see you again. Bless her.
Oh, crap. All right.
Julie's one of our regulars from Louisiana.
Okay.
Wonderful, wonderful lady.
Sure.
Big
Not
brass
a
head
problem.
and fresh batteries.
So I'm gonna change this up a little bit. I want to know, what is Labworks Vapes? Go on, tell me a bit about you. Tell us a bit of your history, how you've ended up to this point in time. So where did you start from?
Okay. Before the vape space, I'm actually a qualified horse trainer with a background in veterinary and breeding, pre-training, breaking, all for the racing industry. I worked in that for a number of years, and due to health reasons and due to my back, my face, everything being broken, both knees replaced, I had to get out of that. And in early 2014, after many unsuccessful ways and means of trying to give up cigarettes, pills, patches, sprays, gum, the whole 9 yards, I was actually diagnosed with late stage 2, early stage 3 emphysema. Mm-hmm. And I needed to get off the stinkies, otherwise I was going to end up on an oxygen tank, or worse still, I probably wouldn't be around so much longer. I'm a few weeks off 50, so it's not a problem. So where I got my start was I walked into a vape shop, and they had all these, they were simple fruits, and I thought, hang on, this can't be that hard to really do. I understand chemistry, pardon me, with a chemistry background, so let's dive into this. So I spoke to the owners of the shop on how to get my hands on concentrates and stuff. I was vaping on a strawberry or a kiwi or something back then, and I decided, no, I want something a little bit different. So I wanted a white chocolate, a cinnamon white chocolate that reminded me of a candy that I had when I was a child. So I got my hands on concentrates, started doing a whole lot of research on what I can and what I can't do in the vape space. And here in Australia, none of our liquids actually contain nicotine. We actually have to import it to add to our liquids. So that was the next part that I had under control. I had a friend of mine that helped me out. He hooked me up with some nicotine to get me started. Come early 2015, I started doing a DIY show with Fresh A3 on his channel. He's been around for a long, long time doing DIY, and I used to get up every Sunday morning and do a DIY show with him. I then started getting involved heavily in the advocacy side of things, and I needed a break, so I took a little bit of time off from everything. I took a step back, and I then started working on recipes first and foremost. By the end of 2015, 12 months down the track, I'd actually got my my first commercial, like someone very high up in a company, I'm not going to name names anymore, they liked what I did. And I got my first start as a commercial mixer. And from 2016 onwards up until now, all I've been doing is contract mixing for certain companies around the world, probably creating some of the flavours that you guys have all tried at one point in your vaping career. And in the last 12 months, or 18 months, I've now released my own complete line. I've got 30 liquids in the line currently. I've got 50 that'll be in full production by September, and by the end of the year, with a collaboration that I'm actually doing with a couple of other like-minded people in the United States, we will have 100 liquids in my line by that stage. But I can also tell you guys, and I can announce it now to everyone because it's public knowledge, I've recently taken on a position with Molenberry out of Poland. I'm now the development manager for the Australian, New Zealand market and the USA in both the DIY space and the commercial mixing side of things, in recipe development, tweaking, putting things together for people, finding solutions for their company as a turnkey solution from woe to go. Molenberry, their sister company is Chemnovatic, which are nicotine manufacturers, and a very, very big lab space in Poland. So I'm actually glad to have taken on that role.
Awesome.
So that's where I'm at now.
Not busy at all then.
No.
Now, that's one burning question I want to ask you, Paul.
Shoot.
I noticed on your webpage that you stopped the Bogan brews.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you have anything to do with those puppies?
No. The first three that Sam released, he actually created them. And then the next three that he released, and then the next three he released, the Duck's Nuts, Ridgy-Didge, and the Bloody Ripper. These are his new three, and he's got another few on the way. He wants to get to 10 liquids. The company that manufactures them for him, Vaporize, they're one of the biggest online retailers here in Australia. He used to work for them, and because now of his schedule, doing his advocacy, his international travel with the products that he's working on, his RDAs, his mech mods, because he's a mech mod boy. He's, it's quite interesting.
I've got to ask, what were you being a mixologist? How does the process start? Do you sort of have an idea in your head and then you try and make it? Or is it sometimes you accidentally come up with a flavour?
Good question, but I'll let you all in on the big secret. You actually reverse engineer recipes. You look at a bakery and you reverse engineer it from your concentrate stash. That's how you do it.
So you've already got the idea of what you want the flavour as first, and then
Correct.
break it down. Oh, interesting.
Yes.
So have you actually done one the other way round, where it's sort of like you've created something by accident, but it's blooming good, so you've tried to recreate it?
Yeah, I take notes on everything that I do. I take notes if I mix 100 mils, 250, 500, or a litre when we're doing the scale up, to see if it's going to be a commercially viable recipe. If you can get to the point of creating a litre of something and you leave it aside for 3 months and you go back and you taste it and test it and it's still holding all the flavours true to what you originally set out to do, you know then that you have a viable recipe, a commercially viable recipe. It's probably the biggest one that I stumbled upon was, what was it? Strawberry shortcake ice cream.
Okay.
Like a tradition, like an old school strawberry shortcake ice cream. It had the fresh and the glazed strawberries there as the base of it. It had a shortcake crust, and then it had 5 different ice creams in there to bring up the back end creams. So yeah, that was probably the biggest one. I'd had a few beers that night and I was sitting around and I just started mixing shit, and that's what happened.
Stuart, no, I don't like chicken tikka.
Right, quick question for Julie, Paul. Do you ship to the US?
I ship worldwide.
They are, Julie. Now, if chat's not spotted it, there is a link to Labworks in the chat, and we've also put up Mullenberry flavours, which I'm guessing
this foul. What the hell? No, I'm not mixing chicken tikka and bloody. What's going on?
I had to try that. I had to try it. I did that live.
Somebody's actually produced a chicken tikka flavour e-liquid in England, and
well, someone needs to go and see a psychologist for that one.
Yeah, that's just for me vaping it. Yeah, I do believe Mobro's going to try it next.
I think he did it last night, didn't he?
Did he do it last night?
Basically, it sounded like the flavour profile was Satan's testicles and a large amount of burned rubber.
That was the problem. It was very burnt rubber. You couldn't get away from this burnt rubber taste. It had the heat. You got that heat in it, but it was just burnt rubber. And then you just got this, like, I would say citrus. I wouldn't say it was lime or anything like that, but you got this citrus background and just burnt rubber. Yeah, but it was not nice.
That's actually what I'm really known for. I'm known for bending citruses into playable objects. Any form of citrus I can bend. I can make even the sharpest or almost how would you put it? The sharpest or the most unworkable concentrate, I can bend it into shape and make it to play nice. But that comes down to playing with tricks and like the secrets that I'm not going to go into.
No, fair enough. Now Grumpy's just asked, talking about flavours holding up over time, is it true strawberry flavours should be added later in the steep to hold up?
Yes, 100%. Strawberry, well, the majority of the strawberry flavours are actually made up, or the basis of them is maltol based, ethyl maltol. The strawberry fades very, very quickly. The other one that fades, and we do have a solution for it now, is pineapple. Pineapple fades very quickly in a recipe, but then pineapple will come back 2 weeks, 3 weeks later in the steep time. With strawberries, I actually have what's called a strawberry stone, which is actually created from 6 different strawberries, and then I added it 1%. That's the secret behind that.
We're learning it all here.
Very good. I'm wondering what's upset Julie. There's a slight outburst from her, bless her, but...
Okay.
Yeah. Is that a request, Julie, or don't you agree with something? So, I think we've done the vape. Yeah. Do you want to do? Is there anything else you want to ask about the flavours? Because
No. That was it. That was fine.
I'm interested in your Doctor Who. 'Cause
Really?
yes. Yeah, I mean, Christ, why have a busman's holiday? Come on, dude. You've been on all day doing vape advocacy. Yeah. Flavours. We know you're coming out of Poland now and working with Mollenberry to increase the market in Australia and the States. And good luck with that one, mate.
Yeah.
There's the challenge. So come on. Who is your Doctor Who?
Mine would have to be both John Pertwee and Tom Baker, and I've had the pleasure of actually meeting Tom Baker on a couple of occasions when I was a kid. John Pertwee, I would have loved to have met him. I like the way that he worked around with different people from different walks of life. And when he had the Brigadier with him, that was quite a lot of fun.
Oh, with
to
the
watch
Brigadier,
him.
yeah, definitely.
In the early stuff.
I love that. I've got to admit, even with the new, I had class it as the next generation of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
I still liked it how they linked that. I really did with Unit. I just thought that was cool. Our Aiden met John Pertwee, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when he was doing Wurzel Gummidge.
Oh, nice. All right. Who was your favourite character or villain?
Oh,
I'm going to be a tad controversial here. Female master, Missy.
I like Missy. There was something about Missy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't have the suaveness of the original. I really can't remember the actor's name, and I wish I could. The guy who first played the Master.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the days of, well, that was Tom Baker, wasn't it?
Mm.
When the Master first appeared. He had a certain suave elegance about him, but Missy just has that completely evil crackpot to it.
Are you a Dalek or a Cyberman, though?
Cyberman, because you can kill them with gold dust.
See, I was always a Dalek fan. I thought
I was a very big fan of Davros. I thought he was cool.
Yeah. I always thought that the actual idea behind the Daleks was very, very clever and very, very sinister when you think what the actual Daleks were. I really, so like, yeah, they was genetically engineered to be mean.
Yeah.
What?
Sorry, I'm answering questions.
We're still getting loads of questions about flavours.
Well, keep on shouting them out, Steve.
Right, well, so we had Grumpy's about the strawberries. He also asks about cactus and dragon fruit supporting strawberry. Is it true or not?
Cactus is there for the mouthfeel. It puts mouthfeel back into anything that's got EM. And dragon fruit will help with a lot of seed fruits, or ground grown, as we call them here in Australia, ground grown fruits. The other little secret for lifting it.
Now everybody can see what I was talking about with the drawers.
It's a concentrate you can get it at chefs in the UK, and this is a very, very big secret that I use quite a lot. It's a concentrate made by Vape Train Australia, and it's called Apollo Fajola. It is a citrus that will bend strawberry into shape in no time at all. And the question for peach is You use WS23 10% by volume. You use 1 drop per 30 mils to actually smooth out the peach, and then it doesn't give you such a harsh throat hit.
There you are, Andy. I hope that's answered it, because he's just said, I like a sweet and smooth, genuine peach, but no one seems to get a sweet peach right without the bitterness.
You can do it, but all peaches have the inherent problem of they want to impact on the pectin or the seed, the actual pectin flavour or the seed. That's what they're doing. But some peaches are actually, the bases of them are actually naturally extracted, and that's what they're working from. They're not all chemical. Some of them are actually naturally extracted.
I'm glad you answered that anyway, mate, because I've been wondering that about peach as well.
It's the same as apples. I've got 22 different apples that I work with.
Gordon Bennett.
I've not heard that bit of apple. What's a Gordon Bennett apple? I've heard of Granny Smith, but not Gordon Bennett.
Tastes crap, but fantastic goalkeeper. So, Paul's just said he's a Cyberman, and he'd have chosen Cyberman over Daleks. What did you think to the reworking of the Cybermen away from the Mondasian?
Some of the ways they reworked them, sure, but I thought that the older style Daleks, they had a little bit more to them. They were a little bit more rough around the edges than what the newer ones are. They're more polished. They're more polished now. They're not. No. They're not the same. Nowhere near the same. They're too polished for me.
Back in the day, you didn't worry about whether Daleks could climb stairs, did you?
No.
And
No.
all of a sudden, this anti-grav system, it just...
Oh,
like,
yeah.
nah.
I think that was they probably did that for the age-old question, wasn't it? Why you can stop a Dalek, just run upstairs. I think that's why they did things like that. But do you find that the new Doctor Who has lost anything compared to the original, or do you think that the new Doctor Who is still carrying on the same?
The older Doctors, the sets they had budgets that they had to work to. The new Doctors, they've got a lot more money attached to it. The production has gone up drastically over the past 10 years or so. Even when you went back to, the final, when, the changeover after Baker, the money started getting pumped into the projects a lot more than what we used to see in the old days. I still like old school stuff, the way it's put together. It's got more to it.
Sorry, mate. I can't help but feel that the scripts were better in the old ones.
Correct. Still, my favourite is Ark in Space with John Pertwee. With Tom Baker, where it was like they were all in suspended animation, and one turned into a big slug and then into a butterfly in space. And I thought, how the hell is this going to go down? I thought that was quite funny.
I've got to admit, I do prefer the black and whites. I really do. I like the really early stuff. Because it was very... Yes, the sets and everything, there was limited, and you could see that there was limited, but it was sort of like...
Correct.
I'm fascinated by the radio workshop, the BBC radio workshop, how they actually created the music and things like that, and from old-fashioned tape and splicing tapes together to make the sounds and things like that. And
that was what was the name? Derbyshire.
Derbyshire, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
sorry, yeah.
All that kind of stuff. It was so like very how can you put it? The things that you can do on a mobile phone now out-suppresses what they had back in that day, and it's so like I do appreciate what limitations that they had when they was creating the special effects and the way that they went about making their special effects. It's so like I don't know. I just find it just a little bit more intimate with it. It's not just done on a computer like they are done now.
No,
Yeah.
fair point. But I mean, for me, if you go back to the Terrence Dicks era, yeah, you've got Terrence Dicks, you've got Douglas Adams, yeah, you've got some real writers there, and this is absolutely no disservice to Mark Gatiss. He writes some brilliant scripts, but they just don't seem to capture that, almost the Heath Robinson effect to the Doctor, because he got thrown into these amazing situations and then ended up saving the day with nothing but a sonic screwdriver and a bag of jelly babies. Yeah.
It's not only Doctor Who that I grew up on. I grew up on all of Jerry Anderson's work. Absolute genius with what he was doing. And I wasn't only Thunderbirds and Joe 90 and Captain Scarlet. I was very much into UFO, which was Real People, and Space 1999. They were the two that I really, really, really enjoyed. Probably UFO because I was seeing hot women in skimpy outfits, and I was a kid, and I'm like,
That's always good. See, I was a big Space 1999 fan, really big. In fact, 1 second, just show you something.
Yeah, I could probably outdo you because I've got all the Thunderbirds here. I've got all the Space 1999 stuff as well. Yeah, Eagle Transporter. Yeah,
that is my original from when I was a baby.
Yeah, they were made by Dinky.
It's rough as hell, but...
Yeah, I've still got mine. I've still got all my UFO stuff like that. That's all packed up. Half of it was never out of its box. But yeah, that's the old Eagle Transporter. I actually got to meet Martin Landau when I was a kid, and Barbara Bain when they toured Australia for Space 1999.
Really cool.
This isn't fair. You've met half my heroes, dude. You'll be telling me you're drinking buddies with Kevin Bloody Wilson next.
I have had a beer with him.
But did he sign your boob? That's
No, but he told me the story about Santa Claus.
Damn, first time I heard that. Jesus, there was coffee everywhere. But it's his daughter, isn't it? Jenny Taylor. She's brilliant as well.
Yeah. The other one of my favourite songs of his is the Pubic Hair song. That's hilarious.
I must admit, I'm a bad man. I like living next door to Abbo's.
Oh, yeah, living next door to Alan. Yeah.
that just took. I mean, obviously, we got the. I'm trying to think who did the cover of Santa Claus. I think it was Chubby Brown. Who did a cover? But somebody introduced me to Kevin Wilson, and that was it. The kid, he swears a little bit. That's one of my all-time favourites as well.
I know, yeah.
I can't believe I actually sat through his autobiography as well.
The other gentleman that I listened to when I was younger was what was his name? Billy Birmingham, the third man. What was it? He was taking off all the sports commentators here, the Wired World of Sports. That's absolutely hilarious. That was fun too. Oh, you got to find it. The Wired World of Sports takes off all the cricket umpires and shit, and just gives all the Indian players these dries and uns nasty, and you got to hear some of the names. It was like, what the hell? Oh, the last leg of walls. How the hell does he know that?
The effing cat's back is a good one as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Now, how did he do that?
Yeah, that's another good one, Grumpy. Mark, you think it's bad? At least we're not playing it, mate.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
You'd lose all forms of like if you had any money coming through on this show, you'd lose that in 5 seconds.
Oh,
if
God,
any
no.
of it, yeah, does your dad own a brewery? Yeah. Can I feel your tits or will you show them to me? Yeah. Yeah.
If the answer is no to the questions above, can you be a good sport and show me your girlfriend who does?
Yeah, I know. There's some classic lines. Andy, you are desperately trying to find an NET-based or natural nicotine extract peach liquid. Give me a couple of weeks. That's the other thing that we should have touched on before. I've actually just set up a lab in New Zealand for manufacturing of nicked up liquids. So just look me up or send me a message and we will talk about that. But I need at least 2 weeks. I'm working on something in that department. It's a peach honey tobacco.
Ooh. Interesting.
Blimey, you're getting a lot of first here, folks. God, Benny Paul, I don't think we've had this many announcements ever.
Well, I was answering a lot of questions for you guys last week, and then when you actually get me on and you see and you hear what I'm all about, it's just like, oh, hang on a second, what's going on here?
No, I mean, it's all the thing with the flavours is, if I'm always, I don't know about anybody else in chat, but I'm always on the lookout for new good juices. And there's so many mediocre and white labels around at the minute. So when you do find that good new juice, it's something special, you know. You rolling your eyes upwards, it's like,
I'm not going to say how many white labels I've worked on for people, how many like contract mixes I've done. I'm currently sitting on about 600 or 700 recipes, somewhere around that barrier.
That is amazing. That
I've got variation on variation on variation of different things. It's hard, but white labeling in the UK now, it's how low can you go? I saw something earlier. I think it was 5 120s for $50 or something, and I went, "What the hell's going on there?" For 50 quid. And I went, "You're killing yourself. You're shooting yourself in the foot." There's way too many white labels now, and the crap that's being made up north. Someone sent me over some samples out of Manchester, and I said, "What the hell is this? Like, seriously, what is this? You're vaping this shit? You're joking me. You are absolutely joking me. It's garbage."
It's one of the reasons. I mean, I used to do a lot of juice reviews. It's how I was starting my channel. Like most reviews, that's where you base your starting point. And it got to the point with me that you could literally tell these white labels from one another, and you could sort of like, it's the same juice, just different label. And
Correct.
it was getting to and it was
that's what I'm getting at.
Hip hop juice.
That's what I'm getting at.
And it's one of the reasons why I stopped doing it.
Look, you have the big internationals, like the major players, you know, the big companies like Dinner Lady, Humble, Hustle, people like that, Naked 100. Naked 100's still one of the best commercial juices on the planet. I don't care what anyone says, right? It is still 1-to-1 one of the best commercial juices around. Back in the day, you had what was it? One Hit Wonder, and that's exactly what it was, a one-hit wonder. It wasn't anything to write home about, but they kept releasing more and more and more, and they just kept getting worse and worse and worse, only because they were lifting the sweetener levels to stupid, like absolutely stupid levels, which is absolutely, why do that? Why do that to a liquid?
I find that a lot of juices are way too sweet. Way too sweet nowadays.
Okay. Reverend says it perfectly here. He's 100% right. Premium is just when you're taking sweeteners over, 1.5-2%, and fancy labeling, marketing. Once upon a time when you go to a vape expo, you would go through so many different liquids in a day to see what you wanted, but now it's nowhere near what it was 2 years ago, and that's the truth. Premium is just a word. There's no such thing, and I'm saying that, and I'm a manufacturer. I'm saying it.
Yeah, they've actually diluted the actual name, haven't they? Really?
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, the likes of Homeboy, their Volume 2 range. Now, those are juices to me that don't taste like they've got any sweetener in at all. They seem to be taking it tastes almost like the fruit sweetness in it.
Yeah.
Because they've got the cranberry and apple and the rhubarb and elderflower. And...
Yeah. Well, look, we've even gone as far now. We've even gone as far with the alcohols that we're actually buying the alcohol and we're actually distilling out the alcohol to use it in our liquids. We want the flavour. I've got a range. It's a private range for a company, and it's all based on Tanqueray, like the lime Tanqueray, the orange Tanqueray, and the original, and even the number 10. So I've done gin tonic lime, gin tonic lemon lime, variations of gin and tonic for a couple of different clients. But like bourbons, when I do a bourbon custard tobacco for one of my clients, that is actually made from what was the bourbon that he asked for last time? He wanted me to change the bourbon out. That was Wild Turkey. Right. And we actually and I just pulled it down and threw it back together again. That's another way to do it. We're always looking for ways and means to come out with the next best juice, but so many things do work and so many things don't work. They'll just fall flat on their face. Simple, but white labeling, it's not even funny. I'd evoke, do you have a distributor here in the UAE? I can send anything to UAE. Where are you based? Dubai? I've seen your name in a couple of chats.
Oh, you want to see Voca's mod collection?
Yeah.
God, Bennett.
Want.
Yeah,
don't go there. I'm the same.
He's got stuff that we're only ever going to dream of owning, Like Mark said last week, if we found out where he lived, we'd be around with a large pair of hobnail boots and kicking his front door in.
Yeah. Actually, a friend of mine is on his way to Dubai now to work on a mixing contract over there. I visited Dubai a number of times with racing. I was there a couple of years ago at Meydan for the World Sprint Series.
He was me local lads there, Steve. Not these jet setters.
No. Furthest we goes Rotherham.
Rotherham. And then we needed tetanus.
Bloody hell. I mean, it makes me laugh because if you were talking in Australia, just to get from one side to the other, you're doing what, England? God, how many times? It's ridiculous.
From Sydney to Western Australia, 6-hour flight.
Jeeps.
Yeah, you can do the UK in what, 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit over 2.
Yeah, so it's about three times the distance, and we consider it far when we go 40 miles. Yeah. Again, repugnant.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Oh, here we go. Is pear another flavour that doesn't work chemically like peach? As I can find pear flavours quite bitter as well.
You use cactus to bend pear, and that's the way to do that. Or you use a Fuji apple will help with, and the very sneaky one, plum, will actually bend pear.
Now, there's one flavour I've never seen over here in e-juice.
Plum.
Plum.
Mm.
I've never seen plum.
I have, many, many moons ago. It used
I
to
was
be...
about to say, it used to be a big thing in the UK.
Yeah. I mean, on about many, many moons ago, plum. Plum used to be one of those standard in your CE4 type thing. That was, a standard juice, that was. But I haven't seen anything done with it recently, must admit. There you go. Plum.
Don't go there, buddy. You want to talk at Grumpy Old.
So I've got to ask, what is your everyday vape then? What do you vape on? What's your? This is the one I settle down with.
Jeez. That's.
That wasn't an easy question then.
No, it's oh, hate to say this, it's actually a blueberry lemonade.
No wrong with that. What's wrong with blueberry lemonade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a blueberry lemonade.
No, I mean mine's a basic lemon. I vape that day in, day out. It's just a very basic lemon vape.
And the other one is lemon, lime and bitters.
Nice one.
Mostly citrus because it keeps my palate clean if I'm working on something.
I think that's part of the reason why you do lemon a lot, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I still do it. It's what I started when I started doing my reviews. It was the only thing that sort of like stopped me from getting like vapor's tongue. It was just to go on a lemon. Because obviously you're tasting all these different nuances and that, like, you've got to keep a fresh palate. Yeah. And I've stuck with it ever since. So, yeah.
That's the joys of having crap taste buds like I've got. I don't have to worry about that. If the flavour disappears, it probably means it's Monday.
Funny you say that because you can... Because I was a very, very heavy smoker. I was 50, 60 a day. I'd even roll a cigarette before I got out of bed, and I'd have a cigarette in my mouth the whole day working and racing. Our two big friends was nicotine and caffeine. They were the two big things that we were always up for. But I used to roll cigarettes. I never smoked Taylor Mates. So my palate was completely and utterly shot. And I had to learn to reset it. That's why I worked with white chocolate cinnamon when I first started, because I wanted to reset. Cinnamon was the first thing that reset my palate very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. Now I've got a real taste for ice creams. I can work on ice creams day in, day out. They give you variations of an ice cream, like a white chocolate honeycomb butterscotch ice cream. That's something that I've done. I've done probably 20 or 30 different ice creams now, and I'm actually thinking just doing a line of ice cream and actually calling it ice cream.
I like that.
Just very simple.
I had an ice cream a few months back, and the only way to describe it was a raspberry ice cream. It was, and you know the end of your bowl, you've finished it, and you've got that goo at the bottom of your bowl that you lick out. It just tasted like that. It was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah. I'm a fan of some bakeries. Not many, because most of the donut vapes actually taste like Play-Doh until you push the concentrates far enough, like way too far, that you're going out of the realm of a donut into something else. Cookies, I'm a huge fan of cookies. I did a choc mint cookie ice cream, very similar to the mint slice, like the Arnott's mint slice. I did that into an ice cream. I did the raspberry boysenberry ripple, and there was some interesting ones I've worked on. Banana pistachio ice cream. That's another very, very interesting one, because the back notes of pistachio, you only get the pistachio on the exhale.
Yeah.
On the inhale, you get the banana, but then you get the pistachio on the exhale.
Ooh. Yeah, that's
Oh, that sounds good. How, I mean, obviously, if it's an industry secret, then don't answer this one, but
Sure.
how on earth do they manage to do that, where you get one predominant flavour on the inhale and then get that second flavour on the flip?
Okay, when you're ramping up a coil, okay, the inhale, you're actually getting a note that will pop at a certain temperature. When you exhale, the temperature changes when you're exhaling, hence the flavour.
Right, so it's more about, if I've understood you correctly, we're talking sort of evaporation almost.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's the esters of what you're working with. It changes the temperature, and it changes the actual texture of what you're doing and what you're playing with. Yeah. Any good milk chocolates out there? Yeah, Hang Seng Australian chocolate, Vape Train chocolate clear, Vape Train cocoa clear, Mullenberry glamour chocolate. They're all milk chocolate based. But if you want to build a chocolate base into a milk chocolate, you need to add back notes of white chocolate to push it further forward, or you use a milk concentrate to push it. But I suggest, if you're going to do that, you create a stone, you let it sit for 3 to 4 days before you actually start working with it, so it sits there and binds.
I find this all fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I'd love to get into it. I really would. Playing around with that, like, the alchemists.
I don't know. Does it feel like that at 5:30 on a Monday, Paul?
Oh God. It depends what I've been working on. If I'm doing, for argument's sake, if I'm working on tobaccos all day, I'll have a beer by 3 in the afternoon, because I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it.
Excuse me.
Because there's so many really, really, really good tobacco bases now to work with. Flavora's just released some crackers. Mullenberry's also got some crackers, but you need to lift them. You got to bend them into shape.
Fascinating. It really is. So, I've got to change the subject slightly, just slightly. Steve,
What?
if you could create your juice, what would your juice be?
Oh, God. Probably a raspberry white chocolate mousse.
It's all right. Paul's taking notes. Right, that's that one. Is that it?
Raspberry white chocolate mousse.
Mine is I think I've already mentioned it before. Mine's a Bavarian slice.
Yeah, I remember.
Yes. Mine's the Bavarian slice. Yes, but it's got to be that really dense, thick cream. It's got to be that. If it's not got that dense, thick cream on it, it's not the right same.
Hang Seng, the Chinese manufacturer, they do some crackers. They've got an Italian cream that it punches you in the face. It's a really big cream, really big.
So we've done our dream flavours, Paul. If there was any flavour in the world that you could do, anything, what would it be?
As a drink or any flavour?
As a juice, any flavour in the world that you could reproduce as a juice. Let's just say the good Lord decided to touch you with his little pinky and away you went. What would it be?
Long Island iced tea.
Oh. That's a complex one, mate.
Yeah.
So I've got to ask the question then. Is there a juice that you've tried to make that no matter how you do it, you've not been able to crack it? Have you got that how can you put it, that unicorn juice you want to make, but you've never been able to nail it?
It's, well, anyone that knows what the hell they're doing in mixing, they will tell you that tiramisu is the holy grail. And the other really big one that is the second holy grail to it, or they're probably equal footing, would be a baklava.
Ooh, what's a
to
baklava?
Actually
What's a baklava?
to actually
Baklava.
It's
sheets of pastry soaked in sugar syrup.
Yeah.
And then it's got pistachios sprinkled between the various layers. It's an absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah. I'm still working on that. I've got 12 different renditions and I'm very, very close now. Very close.
And the problem is every household's got its own recipe for baklava.
Yeah, thank you. There's sugar water versions of it. There's rose water versions of it. And even the pastry, the way the pastry's put together. The other one that I'm still working on right now, I'm very close, is Turkish Delight.
Ooh.
Now you've got me.
I like a turkey. I ain't had a Turkish Delight in yonks. Yes, I do like them.
I mean, I can understand why baklava would be so difficult, because phyllo doesn't particularly have a great flavour, but there is a flavour to it.
Correct.
Wow. You don't believe in setting these goalposts low, do you?
No.
That's why I thought I'd ask the question. I thought there's got to be sort of like that unicorn juice that you just can't quite nail.
It's also very subjective. If you've reset your taste buds, you will be able to taste a lot of other things. It also comes down to what your coils are made from, whether you're dripping, whether you're using tanks, the material of the coil, stainless 316, 304, 316, 317 in stainless, nichrome 80, nichrome 90. Then you get into your really high grade wires. Canthal specifically for Canthal will work a whole lot better with Nic salts, simply because it's a different heating. It doesn't ramp up stupidly fast. There's all these different things. Wattage plays a major role I can give you notes, and if you're doing temp control, say with a 316 coil, I could actually give you notes. If you go into temp control, I can give you temperatures that you'll unlock different flavors within the liquid. Each has a flash point.
So when you actually you've created the juice, how do you go about testing it? Like you were saying, with different juice, so like put it at different wattages all the time and test it on different devices. And
No, you're gonna laugh at this one. Old Stigelli 150.
I can't beat that.
Right. It's the exact same RDA for all testing. Like currently, it's a Wasp Nano single coil.
Yep.
And they're all set up exactly the same to within 0.1 of an ohm of whatever the material is, and then we just go through and like I'll have 5 or 6 of them all set up exactly the same with different wires and see what changes.
So it's really simple, really, to break it down, but with the amount of juices that you're going through, jeeps.
Yeah. Voca, temperature ranges would be. Someone on Reddit actually did what the temperature ranges and the difference between fruits, custards, caramels, vanillas, cinnamons, bakery notes. They actually did a chart on what unlocks at what temperatures.
That's clever, that.
Yeah.
Let's face. We enjoy it as vapors, but there is a art and a science to it all. It's just not just throwing this and throwing that into a bowl and give it a mix. There is an actual art and science to it all.
Yeah. Bill, you're 100% correct. Coffees have a very specific temp range that they lock and unlock. They become bitter. They become more palatable. And also whether or not you've got a caramel back note or a vanilla back note to it, or a cream.
What's the flavour holds up best for very hot vapes like Series Mex?
Sorry?
The question was, what flavour holds up best for very hot vapes like a Series Mech?
Custards. They're complex. The chemistry behind a custard is very, very complex. They'll withstand high temp vaping, hot vaping.
Sorry, mate. I just saw Andy's comment. I was really beginning to like Paul. Then he mentioned the Wasp. The rare RDA I could never get right, no matter what I did with Cantle. Bless him.
Okay. I'll give you a little secret with the Wasp Nano. Triple core 28 N80 wrapped in 40 gauge, 5 wraps in a Wasp Nano, bada bing, off you go.
See, I've never had a problem with Wasp Nano, ever. Never had a problem. In fact, I ended up buying 2 of them when I was doing my main juice reviewing. That's all I ever used to use is Wasp Nano.
Yeah.
Cracking little one for just the juice.
It doesn't work well with Canthal. It works really well with stainless, and it works really, really, really well with N80, N90. Yeah.
So, going back to what you were just saying about temperatures and all the rest of it, it sounds like it'd be possible to have an Easter egg range of juices then, where you could start off with one set of flavours, and then if you went up further up in the range of temperatures, almost tweak it so it starts becoming something completely different. Would I be right in that?
I have a liquid that I send to friends on their birthday. It's called the Everlasting Gobstopper. And it actually changes.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
There's 12 fruits in it.
And obviously the different range of heat. That's good. That's clever. I like that.
Go on, Bennett, Paul. Oh, I love it. Right. So we got anything else as we... Blimey, it's 3:45, dude.
I know.
Means it must be tickling midnight for you, Paul.
Almost 1 a.m.
Almost 1. Christ. Right. Are we going to...
I think we are. I think we're going to start slowly wrapping up, yes?
I think we should. Mainly because I think Paul's got work tomorrow, haven't you, mate?
I'll be back up at 6.
Oh.
Oh, right. Well, in which case, we'll start wrapping up.
My working day is 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
God,
Monday to
man.
Friday.
Yeah, pretty much mine is too. But I don't do something I love. But that's another matter. Right. Well, I'll let you kick off first, kiddo.
No worries. So, if you get a chance, head over to Paul's website. I'll put the link in. It's labworksvapes.com. Real range of juices in there. Some of them Paul's actually mentioned. But as you heard from the man himself, he does ship worldwide. So if you want to put an order in, please do so. Also take a look at the Mullenberry. And I think you'll agree with me. Absolutely fantastic show today. Thank you so much, Paul. Really have picked up so much, mate. Especially
You're
about
welcome.
soccer moms. I've never seen a man pull that sort of face when I mentioned soccer mom before. Oh, thank you to chat. Without you, there wouldn't be a show, and you've been absolutely brilliant. Really, really enjoyed it. And a quick one for next week. Paul was the first. Grumpy will be the second. So we've got Ben joining us from the Philippines next week. So if he's got some amazing Pinoy stuff, absolutely amazing Pinoy hardware. So join us next week, same bat channel, same bat time, and we can see us having a chat with Grumpy.
Yeah.
Bless him. So over to Mark.
No, I'm going to put it over to Paul. I just thought you could say your goodbyes first, kiddo.
Thank you very much for having me as a guest on your show. I'm glad that I could answer a few questions for you. If anyone ever wants to reach out to me, I'm always available via Crackbook or Facebook, as you know, you all know it as. You can find me on Twitter, Labworks Vapes, on Instagram, Labworks Vapes. The majority of the stuff I do on those platforms is advocacy. I will be doing some other stuff though regarding Mullenberry, and look, be good to each other, keep vaping, dig in. All I can say is advocate, educate, and vape on. These are the three things that you need to do. And if you don't advocate, get off your ass, do something about it.
Can't say further than that. I just want to give a big shout out to everybody in chat. Thank you so much. Paul, it has been absolutely awesome. You've really have educated me as well. Some things I definitely didn't know. Steve, always a pleasure as always. You're always my buddy from another mother. Always are. And chat, thank you guys. So we will all see you next Sunday with our extra special guest. And don't forget to check out the Ohm service on Thursday as well. I'm going to wrap that one up. I want to say big thank you to everyone. So see you all next week. Bye!
See you later.
Piss off.